And we are live, and hello and welcome to our beautiful Lubna, to our conversation shining the light on our community. I'm really excited to see you again, Lubna, and so much so because we've got something very special to talk about today, and that's your wonderful book, your absolutely amazing book, Beyond Potential, which it is out in print, obviously, because you've got a copy there, but we really want to talk about it now and share where this came from, where your passion for this book, Beyond Potential, the complete wellbeing guide to boost performance and to experience success at work. So I said, thank you for joining us.
Well,
Tell us just, no
thank you
problem.
for having me here.
Not a,
It's always lovely to see you. Every time I've seen you, I've left feeling so much better than when I joined.
it's good. It's
You
good.
have a true gift, so thank you.
Thank you. And it's the same. That's why I love to that. I'm glad that you've come back for another conversation, because I really want to get to know more about you and about your book and your passion for writing it. So let's start. Tell us about your journey, first of all, Lubna, and what encouraged you, what inspired you to write this book.
So I've been a healer since I went to my first healing class in January 93. And I really had no intention at that point of being a healer. I just wanted to experience what it felt like. And by the third session, I was really amazed by what we can pick up and what other people on the course, who none of us kind of could heal before, but what we were picking up about each other and what we could do in a very short period of time, right? So I became really fascinated, and I was thinking, wow, we use 5 to 7% of our cognitive processes. This is some of the rest. And later I realized this is called the higher mind, the superconscious mind. But also, I just thought it was an amazing tool to develop, to heal
Mhm.
myself, to develop my empathy. As a healer, you cannot heal without that. And to develop the higher mind. I just kind of thought it was such a powerful tool. And I loved the people I was really meeting there. And eventually I did get more down the path further and further. And I trained as a healer with the Healing Trust. This was a 2-year training. And I worked with them. They have centers around the UK where you can volunteer. You work as a volunteer with them. We give healing to people for very little. And I worked with them as a volunteer 1 day a week for about 3.5, 4 years. And it was an amazing experience. It's wonderful to work with other healers. And I learned a lot about me as a healer. But from the beginning of my work, I always had a kind of therapy with healing, and then later that became coaching. We didn't really have coaching in the 90s. It was NLP, we had CBT, all of that was there, but that later kind of developed more into the coaching side. So now I am a leadership and well-being coach and a healer. So that's how I got into this.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you for that. And it's certainly such a needed thing in our world, to help people to develop their own healing, because, with your book and the techniques and tips that you share, that people can actually go in to and be able to heal themselves. So thank you. I'd just like to honor you. Just really take a moment just to honor you for doing that, to bringing your gifts to the world and stuff. And I'm really interested, Lubna, to know more about these quadrants, the 4 quadrants of the growth method, and how can that help others?
So a lot of my clients have come to me with, you know, what have unfortunately become fairly common workplace problems and challenges, like burnout, losing confidence in their abilities, and then they start not wanting to really put themselves forwards for things, kind of quiet quitting, or they're feeling overlooked, their bosses don't really give them the attention, and they're not then supported by their colleagues. And for me, it's about raising awareness. If we raise
Mhm.
awareness, we can see our problems in a bigger perspective. We can catch them very early on. And the 4 quadrants of growth, I developed that to find to help us to gain calm, control, confidence, and clarity of vision and purpose. And we see, and that way we can chart a clear path to what we want to achieve and accomplish in our life. And that, that's really, for me, it's about how you find your success. So the 4 quadrants of growth method work body, heart, mind, and spirit. And the body really, in the body, I don't really talk about the physical body so much as the etheric security body. And to look for, to get to have positivity, to develop, learn how to deal with triggers, how to deal with expectations. It's a big thing. So this is in the first quadrant, and we gain calm, and we learn how to gain calm through through strengthening the etheric field and gaining that sense of well-being. In the second quadrant, we look at the heart and raising emotional intelligence, again, developing empathy, strengthening resilience, and developing that emotional sovereignty so that we detach from seeing ourselves the way other people are seeing us. We see ourselves as we truly are, and we then gain sovereignty and we take responsibility for ourselves. And with that, we gain control, so when we have our emotions under check and we're able to deal with those, our lives feel much more in control. And even research shows that as well. Research by Harvard shows that if we're feeling like we have our resilience and our empathy, we feel much more in control of our lives. The third quadrant is to do with the mind. And in that, I obviously, as a healer, I try and take them to the higher mind as well, to the superconscious, explain to them what that is, how to develop it, but also how we can use it tangibly for the workplace. As you know yourself, I mean, the benefits of that are better communication skills, we have increased ability to focus, and it stimulates creativity. So these are 3 tangible benefits that we look at in the book on that. And with that comes confidence. We improve our confidence as we improve our mental skills. And the 4th quadrant is the spirit field. And with that, I'm very big on this. People tend to think spirituality is something you believe in or not. And I really want to disabuse anybody who thinks that. We are born whole. We all have that spirit in us, and by that we mean our values, our purpose, our desire to contribute to our family, our community, our planet, to have a more meaningful existence, to raise our awareness. I don't know anybody who doesn't want that. These are all what we term as spiritual values. This isn't something whether you believe in or not. It's just a part of you and our desires. And if we try and separate that, we end up stifling ourselves, and we're always going to end up in some kind of crunch at some point. And the way forward is to bring our awareness back to that, and to bring our awareness back to what we're doing in a larger sense, our purpose, and to have that more meaningful existence. So that's really what the book is about. And I also introduce in the book the idea of the higher self. Again, I don't know anybody who doesn't kind of believe that there is, or feel that there is a part of them that is really a lot more loving than their conscious self, that is a lot wiser. We all know that it's there, that is the higher self. So it brings us into a deeper alignment, and we just feel a lot better about ourselves. We can deal with people a lot better. We like ourselves more, and we respect ourselves for the choices that we're making more. And we're able to actually produce in the workplace. We're able to produce much better work from that state. And we're able to influence other people in a much more profound way, really. And people trust you more. So for me, it's a no-brainer that this just is such a powerful and simple way, really. And it's to elevate everybody in the workplace.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for sharing that. And I really agree. I mean, the way that you've done it, Lubna, is amazing. It makes so much sense because, all those parts, all those quadrants as such do work together. Without them, we'd kind of like be a little bit well, we wouldn't be whole. The body, mind, the heart, and the spirit, it's all part of us. And yes, we all do, have that higher self, and it's just getting in touch with it. I think what happens to a lot of people is sometimes that higher self gets covered up by all the human doingness, by doing the work, being caught up in the work, and we forget about that being, that spirit, that higher self. And I'd love to ask, with that, just going on from that, and I want to come back to your book too, but what advice would you give to someone who's feeling kind of like undervalued or overlooked at work? How can they use what you teach in your book to help them?
I do actually give an example of that in the book.
Mm.
And I mean, I'm just going to give you just one example. I mean, one person was coming to me, she was very upset because her boss was just completely ignoring her. He was not including her in the teams. She was getting very upset about this. So obviously she was going into into work, and she's feeling and looking like down. She's she looks a bit grumpy, and obviously for obvious reasons, because her expectations are that she's going to be met with a brick, with a blank wall when she goes into work. So this is actually a very good example of being proactive and sovereign, really. So I said to her, okay, before you go into the office, go someplace, maybe even go to the toilet and shut the door, and do a couple of, we agreed on a 2-minute meditation that would just put her in a better place. So then she went into the office, she'd go into the office, she'd say hello to everybody, smile at everyone, make a special point to say hello to her boss, go up to him and say, what can I help you with today? I've done this work now, it's sorted. Can you give me some feedback? And what else would you like me to do? I'd love to be involved in this project if you have space for me. So to be proactive, rather than just going in there thinking he's going to be horrible to me, there's no point, and she's waiting for him to do it. I said, "No, you do it." And 10 days later, she comes back and she's like, my boyfriend is a backpedal. Go back, And she was like, oh, no, he did a 180-degree turn. Now it's all going really well in the workplace. And she was so upset at that time. She was about to not only leave that particular job, but she was going to leave the whole field altogether. But sometimes it's that simple. But just bringing a little bit of awareness to what's happening, that we're being reactive and we're being triggered and we're feeling really upset, and it goes into a downward spiral, to just nip it in the bud and just change your behavior. And it's incredible what you can do. And this works every time, incidentally. It's easy to fix this.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. And it is true, when we actually become proactive and take responsibility for what's going on in our lives instead of waiting for someone else, yeah, magic can happen. Magic can happen. So thank you for sharing that, because I'm sure a lot of people can really understand and really connect with that, how you're feeling undervalued in not just work but in relationships, in all sorts of places, because we're not valuing ourselves and taking our own stand, being proactive. Now, with your book, we were talking before that you actually have a workbook as part of it that people can download. So you have different, each chapter goes through the different steps and the sequences, and each chapter has a workbook for it.
The workbook is 54 pages. So it's every chapter has exercises and a guided meditation that I recorded with it
Nice.
as well.
Nice.
It's also got some energy exercises. Now, in the book, we work with 4 modalities: psychology and coaching, meditation, energy work, and the hero's quest. So in the last chapter, we go through their hero's journey of transformation based on the answers they have through the workbook. We can use those to craft their journey of transformation and chart their path. So this is the book. And in the end of chapter 1,
Mhm.
and incidentally, I mean, it's there in both the paperback and the ebook as well. So at the end of chapter 1, here it is. So at the end of chapter 1, there's a QR
QR code. Yep.
and a link if you don't want to use the QR code, and that will take you to a landing page where you can download the workbook, as well as a PDF of all the diagrams in color, because they just make a lot more sense in color.
Yes.
So, and I really, I mean, I'm just going to say this quickly because I love. There's a story about Jim Casey,
Yes.
who started UPS in 1907, and by 1929, reading between the lines, you know, this story is not in the book, but it influenced me. I love this story, and reading between the lines, he got fed up of his executives kind of being in the ivory tower and being very removed, separated from the workforce and the guts of the organization, you know. So he issued a pamphlet to everybody in the workforce, everybody, saying from now on, anybody can make an appointment with the executives. They have an open door policy. And this is 1929. And everybody calls each other by their first names. None of this, you know, and so that when the janitor passes him in the corridor, he says, "Morning, Jim." Okay. And I love that story. So this book, I really created it for anyone in the workplace,
Nice.
from the janitor to the CEO. And if you're having problems, if you're struggling with any of these things, and you want to see your work in a more purposeful way, this book will help you. It's available, it's affordable, it's available. I wanted it to be accessible to anybody who's interested. And for leaders, it's actually useful. It gives them coaching techniques so that they can understand. It helps them to mentor their teams and draw out their potential as well. So that's really why I wrote the book and what I really loved about doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing the story because it's so true. You know, I can just imagine a world that if all the leaders did that everywhere in all the organizations that, you know, treated each other, all the workers from the janitor to the CEO as equals and basically and really became approachable to everyone. I can, you know, it would be a really wonderful environment to be in. And is there anything else that leaders can do to help create a supportive environment that promotes, you know, the holistic growth and everything else for their teams, for their workers? Anything
From the
else?
leadership point of view, point, you mean?
Yes, yes,
That's
yes,
actually a
from a
very good
leadership.
question. Yes, there is a lot that leaders can do for one thing, they can really listen to what their teams are asking of them. I mean, this is something that, I mean, in the example I gave earlier of this girl who was very upset. Now, her team leader, she should not have been the one to really break the cycle with the team leader. The team leader should have been the one to be aware of the problem and to see that she's not doing anything. And he should have had a quiet word with her to find out whether, you know, it's possible he might have thought, you know, she's not really wanting to do the work and this is going to create more work for the others. But leaving it to that till it got to that point where she's seeking help for it is not really it's not a proactive way for a leader to behave. A leader should have noticed this. It's up to them. They're being given resources by the organization who's paying them. They should make the best use of the resources, and leaving your team unattended in this way is not really very good. And then you have, I mean, I've had people come to me who their team leaders really try and almost suppress, they believe the team leader suppressing their work even, you know, and they're trying to find ways to bypass them. And very likely that's not the case, but that's their perception. The team, it's up to the team leader to be aware of what work each team member is producing, that they're working together really very cohesively as a team. And I actually, in the book, I give in chapter, I think that in the workbook in chapter 5, there's an exercise for values building, and that really helps for teamwork. And it's in the book for free. I mean, and they can use that to work out what every person's values are, how it relates to the project they've got in hand, and what each person thinks that they can improve on and bring to it. And they can share that. And when you do that, you get rid of a lot of misconceptions, because we're all perceiving threats. You know, this is part of anxiety when you're in that kind of situation. We're always thinking that somebody wants to take our work. They want to, you know, so we're perceiving a lot of threats. But when we start seeing that people are actually coming from a very good space, you know, very often very deep integrity, very, you know, it gets rid of a lot of this friction, the office politics that uses up so much of our time and resources and energy. And rather than focusing on creating and working well as a team and getting all the systems in place and making sure everything's going like clockwork on time, we're spending more of our time and energy kind of thinking about what the hell is going on. You know, so that is one simple thing that a team leader can do for their team, is get them all working together and harmonizing the values.
Absolutely. And it's so true. You know, if we can connect with our values and connect with each other and see the values, not just in ourselves, but in other people. I mean, I've experienced it. It does bring a lot of harmony within, you know, especially teams working with people and in all other situations. Okay, so Lubna, thank you for joining us today. I've got 2 more quick questions if I can ask you, because and you're going to have to come back to have another
I would love
conversation. um, for you personally, what are some of your practices that you'd like to share? A simple practice that helps you to keep your positivity and your resilience going.
Wow. Okay. That's well, outlook is a really big one, I think. I take, okay, so I get hit by a lot of knocks, and you know, people, you know,
Yeah,
people don't behave the way you would ideally hope they would do, you know, and it's disappointing. But
yeah,
I kind of take that as pointing me towards where I can heal myself and grow.
yes,
You know,
yes,
and you know, I'm old enough to have got to a point in my life where I say, I love that person regardless. I don't, you know, getting upset doesn't bring me anything. I accept, you know, I've learned, you know, I think you get to a point where you either always getting upset about little things, or you accept that. And often what we're really upset about is the unrequitedness of the situation, that I wouldn't do this to them. Why are they doing this to me? I've just kind of think now, okay, you know what, this is what they want to do. What upsets me more is not loving them. You know, I kind of think, well, I love them anyway. That's it. I have to just accept it, and they are what they are. And move on. And I think this is, in a sense, it's a meditative practice,
Mhm.
but it's and yeah, and actually I just meditate on the treadmill when I don't have time to meditate. I go work out. I don't, if anyone's listening to this, make sure it's the constant speed. Don't make I've gone flying off it one time. But if it's at the constant speed, you can actually meditate. You
Okay,
know, meditation really helps. But I think a really valuable practice is really accepting what you feel about someone. Don't disabuse your own heart. And you are what you are. This is your capacity to love. That's amazing. Accept that another person may not be at that level, and you know, you take a decision how you want to deal with the situation after that. But don't beat yourself up because somebody else isn't giving you what you were hoping to get from them, you know,
yeah,
in terms of love or respect or kindness.
absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And it's so true. I'm not quite sure about the meditation on the treadmill part. I will have to kind of think about that one. But
Yeah.
everything else is, just really just getting to a stage of just being able to let things go. Just and not let the little things worry you. So thank you for sharing that. And like I said, I'd really like to honor you for that. And before we say farewell for this time, is there any other questions that I could have asked you? And how would have you answered?
You've asked me some really good questions, and no, I think I always love talking to you. It's you always ask very searching questions, and I think this is really, no, I can't think of anything. I think I've
Sure.
said pretty much everything I wanted to say. You've given me so much scope to speak.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
you're
you.
a very good interviewer. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. And of course, we will be putting all your links in the comments. We do have a couple of people watching, a few people watching, wherever you are in the world. So do hang around. We will be putting all of Lubna's links in the comments very, very soon. And just thank you again. Lubna, thank you for showing. Would you like to hold up your book one last time? We can see it in the background, but yeah, let's have that. So beyond potential, really how we can really grow and achieve. Basically, I think achieve what we really want. So I love it beyond potential. You can just really connect to that and the complete well-being guide to boost your performance and your success at work. Wouldn't it be nice? And I think everyone deep inside us, everyone really has that desire to grow, to reach their potential. And your book is going to help them do that and to even go beyond that, which is good. So thank you again for joining us. It has been a
Always a
pleasure.
pleasure to talk to you, Sophia. Thank
All
you.
right, and we'll be talking to you again